Welcome to the Legally Speaking podcast, powered by Kassoon Car. I'm your host, Rob Hanna. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by two very special guests in the legal community, Nicola Rubbert and Olly Haddock, who amongst many other things, which we'll certainly be talking about in today's episode, are the current chair and vice chair of the wonderful London Young Lawyers Group. Welcome both.
Thanks, Rob. Nice to have us.
Thank you.
Good. I guess I must start by asking the all-important question, as this is a legal podcast after all. On the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very real, how real do you rate the TV series Suits? Olly, coming to you first.
I actually have been watching it right now this minute, and when they brought Mike back, it made it. So 10. And actually, no, the best bit was the little jibe about, I don't know if any of you heard this, about Meghan. They asked how Rachel was doing, and Mike said something like, better than you could possibly imagine.
And Nicola, Olly said he's not going to steal the mic all day. So come on, tell us you're out of 10.
Yeah, 10, absolutely the same. And I definitely, Rachel Zane made it for me, so I'm quite sad that she left.
Yeah, we heart her. Okay, but today we are going to be talking about being legally connected and the importance of networking in the legal sector. So I think it'll be quite good for our listeners to understand perhaps how we first met through our own networking approaches and kind of got our working relationship to this point before we dive in to talk a little bit more. So do you guys want to sort of share your stories on that?
It's quite a funny story, actually. We as the London Young Lawyers, work with a lot of organisations, and the best route in is when someone's messaged you. So I think Rob actually messaged me on LinkedIn, and you know, introducing himself and everything, all the great things he does. And my initial response is, "That's great. Do you want to work with us on an event?" And the rest is history.
Yeah, I think that's my fault. I always say we've got to keep up our amount of interested sponsors, and we are lucky to have quite a few. But basically, if someone tries to sell to you, sell back to them.
You mean lawyers don't like to be sold to? But I guess taking a step back then, for those who are new to, perhaps tell us what it is and what it's all about.
At a very simple level, it's a network where like-minded lawyers and aspiring lawyers can come together and talk about what they do, just be amongst other people doing similar jobs in the legal sphere. I'd say it's a bit of an informal support network because people might want to talk about work or they might not. It's just nice to get to know other lawyers, to find out about what they're doing. You might go on your own, you might go with colleagues. You know, it's a real mixed bag. And then we host one event a month. So they could be educational, like seminars, or perhaps something that would matter to an individual, like financial planning for the future. We host really relaxed social events where people get to know each other properly. So we just try and give a really even mix of things for our members.
And I think the idea is to appeal to a broad range of members. So anything from LPC to 7 years PQE is the official sort of line. And so we run events that will help people out with training contracts. We'll do seminars with, you know, various people. And then anything up to sort of in-house counsel seminars where we're learning about quite complex pieces of law. That's for the slightly more sort of advanced ones. So, and then everything in between. So to try and keep it broad.
So if someone wants to, I guess, how do they hear about you guys? You know, obviously podcasts like these, great things to do, but, you know, how would people hear about you? And, you know, if they want to be searching or thinking about improving their legal networks, how can they kind of hear about that?
Well, a variety of ways. So I first found the group when I was doing my training contract on the Law Society's website. It had a section where it showed local groups. So that was under the London section. So I got in touch and asked about going to an event. So if people are actively searching that way, then that's quite good. But otherwise, we've tried to do a lot of work on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, word of mouth. A lot of people actually I do go to and say, how did you hear about this event? And they'll say, my friend or my colleague told me. So we've been quite lucky in that respect that most people seem to actually know who we are.
Absolutely. And as of late, our social media presence has grown. You know,
you're smashing it, right? You're into the thousands now. It's grown sort of exponentially over the last few months.
We've got some fantastic ambassadors on board recently. They, first and foremost, they are supporters promoting us they've all got their own following. They are producing brilliant sort of pieces themselves. Legally, Liana, for instance, is great on if you're trying to get a training contract, but they've all got their skill sets, which is helpful for us. And frankly, they are experts. These guys are doing Instagram every day. They know how the best stories look. They know how things work, which is more than Nicola and I do, and I think the rest of the committee. So it's really helpful to have them. They've got their own bases, and they're helping us reach a new market, which is fantastic.
Which is good, which is great. And if people actually want to be more involved and potentially join the committee, how do they go about doing that? Or how did you guys join the committee and get involved with it? I guess is probably a good point.
Well, I would say the first thing is to actually be a member and come to the events and enjoy them and know that it's the right thing for you, because I would be hesitant to take anyone on that just wants to jump straight into the committee because they might be doing it for the wrong reasons, for the CV. Really, it's all about...
It's a big commitment. Yeah. It is, and you have to really enjoy it. It can't be just for the...
You think of some of the junior lawyers, even myself when I was starting my professional career, it may not sound it today, but I was quite shy and, thought of going to an event. And I think, Nicola, you've got quite a cool story about your first event, which you can probably share with people listening in. But, if people have got fears about these things, or they're not sure, or they haven't got anyone to go with, what's your advice to them?
Just take a deep breath and put on a smile and go for it. I mean, that is what I told myself. So yes, my first event, I was standing at the door and I felt fine on the way. And just as I was outside, I thought, oh no one's going to talk to me. I don't know how to do this. What am I doing? I was thinking about backing away, and then somebody opened the door. so I had to go in. But everyone was so friendly. The committee was so lovely. And then I just sort of broke into a circle. I think my dad's always said, just make sure, you smile and you be polite, and then who's not going to want to talk to you? Everyone's in the same position. Yeah. And
I think that's really important to remember. Like when you said breaking into a circle, there are different rules to networking events than there are if you're, down the pub. You can break into a new circle, say, hi, I'm XYZ, and it's fine. And equally at the end of a conversation, if you're networking, you can say, great, thanks, here's my card, let's stay in touch, I'm going to work the room. And it's allowed. So there aren't those awkward patches where you're sort of just trying to drag her out for a bit of conversation. You can just move on.
And have you got any success stories of members who have joined, have kind of reported back some of the real benefits they've had, or anything that's happened that, that's really great for people listening in saying, what, I'm just really too nervous, or I'm not sure about this. Is there any stories you can share that people have kind of gone on or got some real benefits?
A really kind of basic level and good for the day job are people getting work referred to them because you're meeting solicitors or lawyers with different skill sets. So I think when you're actually networking one-on-one and you get to know someone and you think, actually, I do need to refer some work to someone, so I'd like to take you on board. So that's definitely a success story in terms of...
And jobs. People have genuinely met another lawyer, got to know them and on a repeated basis and ended up working for different firms with them.
Yeah, that's actually probably a few years ago when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next career-wise. And I've met quite a few in-house solicitors, and I don't think I would have met them otherwise, but from going to events and talking to them, they all seem so happy. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to explore this a little bit.
Yeah. So, you've both been very modest. We'll talk about your wider initiatives as well, because as well as this, you do tons of other things. But I know, Olly, particularly you're in private practice at the moment at Radcliffe's, doing really doing great work there. And you've really had some successes through all of these things, particularly London Young Lawyers as well, actually bringing in work, right? So that's a great case study.
All sorts of things. It's bringing in work. It's helping out with on the marketing side. So one of the big things now for a junior lawyer is not just, sat down with your nose to the grindstone. It's actually getting your name out there, trying to get the firm's name out there. And that's something that I'm...
But do you think that's harder? If some people are maybe sitting in Magic Circle firms, maybe sitting in Silver Circle firms, US firms, let's not shy from the fact that, billables and chargeables and getting the job done. Do you think people, if they really are thinking about networking through their career, should be really thinking about which law firms to join that are really kind of promote that? Or do you not think that's something to consider?
I think certainly at the early stage, the industry is so difficult to break into that, let's be honest, people don't always have a choice. You've done something right if you've got 3 or 4 to pick from for a training contract. So, but what a great partner at work, and a lot of people have always told me, and what I try to live by, is if things at work aren't the way you want them to be, then don't have to look for another firm. You can maybe try and, partners are open-minded to networking and marketing, try and change it from within. Speak to people. It's the 21st century. The changes to work-life balance and that sort of thing, even at the giants, there are conversations to be had, especially in terms of getting out to networking events.
Yeah. And for people managing the day job, because that's going to be a part and parcel. I mean, you guys, I don't know how you do it. You're just managing 1,000,001 things, operating what you do. How tough is it? And, you mentioned earlier about you need to be passionate, and we're not just going to give people committee responsibilities, but, if people really do have that passion and want to do it, how do you manage it? And if people listening in, what tips and advice would you give them?
It can't be, something that you feel you have to do. Especially if you're going to get involved with a committee or anything like that. But also you have to look at it realistically. Your value to a private practice law firm as you start going up the ranks is not just your skills as a lawyer, because frankly, every lawyer in the city has got the grades and is smart. But your value is going to be your network. I'm not going to coin the awful phrase, but it literally is your network. But so, you've got to look long term, and you've got to think who's going to be instructing me years down the line, and that starts now.
Well, the day job absolutely has to come first, and I love being a lawyer, so obviously I'll always put that first. But I definitely schedule in time in the evenings or on the weekends to actually do the tasks that need doing. So it's good because it adds to your time management skills. And also it actually feels like I'm running a business. Yeah. That is great.
You get so many skills
commercially.
Running, we're trying to run a committee here, so we're getting management skills. We're trying to run events, so we're having organizational skills. We're trying to manage a very busy diary. So, like Nick was saying, you've got all those skills that...
I had to teach myself to use a website the other day. build some pages.
Yeah, okay, WordPress, SEO will come to you, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying buzzwords. I don't know what any of those are.
I think it's good to draw on any skills that you might have. So I went to Swansea University, which was a great time, but it also equipped me for this role without me realizing it, because I had some roles there. I was student chair of the Student Staff Consultative Committee. I worked in the entertainments team. I worked on the pro bono committee. So I think you kind of forget that you'll do all these exciting things at uni, and then you might think that that's part's done with. But then when I got invited to join the committee, I thought, well, that's perfect. I can actually use these skills.
Yeah. And so you are gathering members at a pace at the moment. That's fair to say. Every event I've been to have been amazing. We'll talk about some of the events and some of the sort of high profile ones we've had recently, but what is in store for sort of, people wanting to join you guys in 2020? What's sort of on the menu, and what's going to get people excited?
Well, I think we do have actually a good balance, like I said, of our seminars to keep your knowledge going. And actually, this sounds a bit sad, but I think sometimes the perfect weeknight out is going to learn about some new piece of law and then mingle with people afterwards and, make new connections. So I think we'll always keep our core events like that. We'll probably have our usual boat party, but
tell us about that.
So that's every summer. I've even bumped into people just at random non-lawyer events that have said, "Oh yeah, you're the people that do that great boat party."
and the thing was, it's a lot of work, and it involves trying to find a lot of funding and a lot of, you're literally on a boat, so it's quite difficult. We're trying to get everything sorted, but we didn't do it one year. And we had so much feedback. We were like, where is he?
Where is it?
Why are you doing it? So we had to put it on again.
So that's back on the menu. We like to think that most things always go well at our events, but it went slightly wrong a few years ago when we were touring So we usually go east and west, or west and east. So we had gone west to around Chelsea, and suddenly the boat pulled in to the embankment.
And they didn't say anything.
And no one had mentioned why. And everyone thought there's a problem with the boat. What's going on? There were whispers. And then obviously running the event, you're thinking, great, everyone's talking and worried. We don't know what's going on. Went and had a word with the staff, and it turned out that the caterers had forgotten to buy the salad for the barbecue dinner. So someone had nipped up the road to the local Tesco and then came running back down and started hurling bags of
with the iceberg.
And here we are. People have paid good money to come to a boat party, and they're watching people throw. They're literally
throwing responsibly. So yes,
but it all worked out in the end. I think that's the only thing.
Great salads. Great salad.
You need a salad, right? You've got to balance the diet.
But I think we'd also like to enhance what we're doing sort of with health and wellness as well.
Yeah, it's been a big push of ours. We both know and work with Kaylee Looney very closely. She is the mastermind behind the recent survey that's been released, supported by the Law Society. The figures and statistics on that were terrifying. So it's a big push for the LYLG to support wellness programs and that sort of thing. Pro bono, we've actually got a pro bono event coming up. Do you want to talk about that one?
Tell us about that.
6th of November. So that's a collaboration with, this is quite funny actually, it's typical me. I said, this is the last event that I'm doing, the Supreme Court. And then I think the same day, as in that I'm running. And then later on that day, I said, okay, so now we're doing a pro bono event on the 6th of November. Someone from Advocate got in touch. We're teaming up with Middle Temple, Young Barristers Association, and the London Solicitors Litigation Association. Yeah. And we're putting together a panel of people that have achieved some really great things in the world of pro bono. Solicitors and barristers that are not only very successful in their day jobs, but they're managing to do this excellent work on top. So we're going to hear about how they not only fit it in around work, but how it's actually enhanced what they're doing. So that's coming up next, and yeah, that's proven popular already. We've
also got to give a shout out to the mentoring scheme that we're about to start. If you're listening, if you have a training contract, or if you don't, keep an eye out, because I think there'll be 2 posts coming up, and we want to get in touch with both sets so that we can have a good pool of mentors, and they can hopefully just assist people with, the dire questions that they have to go through, interview techniques, all that sort of thing, and just as a sort of shoulder to lean on, if nothing else.
Yeah. And you touched on it before, but the Supreme Court, I mean, we had an honour, obviously, as Kasoon Car being part of that, but it was very much your guys' gig. And I think that's just such a prestigious event. So telling people about some of the other things in that particular event, do you want to talk a bit more about that one?
Yeah, that's definitely the favourite. And I'm sure it will remain that for me.
Did Boris Johnson's news the week or two before help?
Boris Johnson
It was a sellout, right? You sold out. I mean, there's Glastonbury tickets and there's a Supreme Court event, which went first?
Exactly. It's just such a beautiful place, and it's a place that you kind of dream of one day working in, perhaps, or at least bring a case there. So
taking a note behind a really good barrister there.
So I just thought actually it would be so nice to marry up, having a tour of the building, getting to explore the different courts, the library, very exciting. You usually can't go in there because it's only for justices.
I did find that amazing how we all got very excited when they say, now we're going to see the library. But it was amazing.
There
was one table with no plugs and just surrounded by books. None of the justices actually sitting there.
You're not buying it. No.
I saw one in there when I went to have a look around. I felt a bit naughty. So yeah, we thought that'd be good. And then let's also couple that up with some really good networking. And it gave it such a lovely feel that I saw so many people making friends. It
was amazing. The feedback from that is the best we've had, honestly, from any of the events that I've certainly been involved in.
And I think it's important to point out as well, as a lawyer, particularly as aspirational, it's okay to have fun. Yes, this is about kind of, going out there, improving your craft, learning how to network, but it's okay to have fun and socialize with lawyers, and it's just not all about sort of developing. And I think you guys offer a real good balance from what I've seen in terms of the two.
For sure. Yeah. And I think you have to keep your your energy up and your excitement for the profession going. So even though we hope to get most of this from what we're actually doing day to day, sometimes you need to go wider, which is what we try and achieve. And you just keep up your passion for your job and for being a solicitor by going to events and networking. Sometimes you need that pick me up and to remind yourself, actually, I do really love being a solicitor. And
honestly, walking around that building and going on the tours, you just look around and you think, I'm actually part of this. And that's quite cool.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's definitely an iconic event. There's no doubt about that. I guess moving on to other things that are creeping in with technology, AI, and, there's the term now legal influencers that is becoming a more of a thing, shall we say. Societies such as yours, is that a platform that can help people if they want to be putting in sort of positive content? I mean, there's a few people that are absolutely smashing it at the moment, as we know. But yeah, what's your view on that? And do you think your kind of society can help people if they want to do that as well?
I think there's just such a thirst for knowledge out there. And I think the influencers, certainly that I've seen, that are doing better than others, they're in that niche of trying to break into this industry is so difficult. And at the start, you are just clamoring for anything you can find that's going to help, that's going to give you a leg up. And isn't it great? Because I think the difference perhaps between legal influencers and in other industries is I don't, as far as I'm aware, know that the legal influencers are gaining anything from it. They literally are just giving back. And we've all just been through this process of getting a training contract not too long ago, and we remember how awful it is. And a lot of us want to just help other people through that.
Yeah, I think you definitely feel so much gratitude in actually qualifying, because the statistics are so scary about the amount of people that should be eligible to get a training contract and those that actually get it. So that gratitude, I suppose that feeds into what we're doing, but definitely the content that I'm seeing people produce to help others with training contracts is great. I actually wish it had been around for me.
I mean, Nicola, you're now trending on LinkedIn, right? They're writing to you exclusively off the back of this. So you're in this bracket, so you're downplaying this.
LinkedIn told me I'm trending.
Yeah. But just so, because, I am in awe of both of you, because I think you're doing such great work for the sort of LYLG, but you do lots of other things as well as a day job. So I guess, are there other things you'd like to sort of talk about or share that you've got in the pipeline or you're involved in that might be helping the legal community listening in, or telling them how they can get involved with other stuff?
Well, certainly. So a few years ago, I just saw there was one of the challenges that we have is holding on to our members beyond 2 or 3 years PQE. As I said before, our bracket goes all the way up to 7, but I just felt that when people got to the 2 or 3 year mark, they wanted to be networking with other professions. And there are lots of other industry bodies, much like us, out there in London. And none of us were talking. None of us were communicating with each other. I think we had one event over the entire 3 or 4 years with Rick's Matrix, and that seemed crazy. And so about 2 years ago, I reached out to quite a few of these other organisations. I won't list them all now. We've got 8 member organisations, and we created what's known as the London Young Professionals Network. And it's a network of networks. It's others like us operating in London that just want to offer more opportunities for cross-industry networking.
In the pipeline at the moment, I'm doing a bit of research and thinking a lot about social mobility. So there's something that I'm working on, but I think it will take quite a bit of time. So that's definitely a topic that needs more attention.
Yeah, for sure.
And just on the topic of fun, you guys are having lots of committee meetings. I think there's an ongoing joke that you guys, see a lot of each other, but, who has some of the annoying habits on the committee? How do you get through those meetings? Give us a bit of an inside lens on what that looks like.
Well, the toughest bit is usually us two squabbling about what is going to be best and what isn't.
You are like the legal married couple, right?
We try and hide that from our children. Yeah. I mean, committee members.
It's awful. Honestly, we're sat there and it's 12 o'clock. We're trying to, or should be trying to sleep. Yeah. And it's, have you got the name badges ready? Or I haven't got the name badges. And it's awful. And
then we'll pick it up at 7 a.m.
Yeah. Have you still got the name badges? No, I haven't.
That's quite a funny name. You need name badges. So what challenges, when you're having these meetings, you talked a little bit about sponsorship. I don't think you're going to struggle for that now, because I definitely think the brands out there, you're doing some crazy cool events and have done, and the Supreme Court's only going to lift you further. But yeah, what are some of the challenges you think you're going to be facing into the new year, and where people could potentially help you?
I think we just always want to make sure that we're pitching our events correctly, that we're actually continuing to do things that will interest people and people want to come to. I remember the first committee meeting I went to back in 2014. It wasn't particularly good, actually, because there had been an event that had been pulled because of a low sign-up rate. So I kind of since then thought, okay, I need to make sure this never happens. So I really try and make sure that an event sells out, actually, or beyond.
And it's amazing now we have the issues the other way around. We have people messaging us on the day before
trying to go on the waiting list.
Is there any chance I can get in? And it's a no.
That's great. But in terms of like just general practical costings, people coming out, particularly aspirational lawyers, they're in a lot of debt, right? So even, how fairly priced are your sort of events? What does membership look like? What are the rough costings? Because, when people start out, they want to have access to these things, but are you fairly priced?
Well, membership's £20 a year. And yes.
Okay.
You can make that back within 2 or 3 events.
Yes. So a lot of the events are free for members, or say they'll at least be discounted. So you could definitely go to 4 free events, I think, a year and make that back.
So for the boat party, I think you can save about £15 on your ticket between the members and non-members tickets. So, just that alone, you can almost make your money back.
And we try so hard to subsidise things, and that's why we rely on sponsors to keep things going, because we do want to attract as many people as possible. We definitely don't want price to be a barrier for anyone.
Yeah.
No, I agree that this boat party, I'm definitely coming next year. It sounds like
you're on the guest list.
Yeah, I hope so. And what about in terms of sort of looking forwards to people wanting to get involved and then coming along to these things? What do you think would make them a better lawyer, or what do you think they can take to their firms that you've seen from people who have been members over the years that's really kind of added value to their firms? Because I know we've kind of touched on a few of these points, but people actually thinking about this, if I'm going to dedicate time to the society and be involved in it, I need to kind of showcase to my firm that I can really bring value. We've talked about business bringing in, but is there anything you think that the society can really help people to become a better lawyer that will be valuable for them and their current firms?
I think it helps your confidence generally. It helps you in talking to a lot of different people. You will get invited to seminars that are free, where you can, learn commercial updates, for example.
I think it's something I touched on before, but networking, whether you like it or not, is an absolute must now. Whether that's internal networking or external networking. To get the best seats as a trainee, you've got to internally network. To get the NQ role, you've got to internally network. To get, start pushing up and get to wherever you want to get to, you've got to internally network. Those skills, they're going to help you in the day job, but also, as I was saying before, you've got to build up your outside professional network as well. It's a must.
Yeah, you can definitely get too comfortable within your workplace. So I think it's really important. And it's such a friendly, relaxed way to ease yourself into it, actually. So I think it's definitely a good platform to then go on to. But
what if people don't like networking? Some people just generally are quite, they want to be buried into the docks, quite happy getting on with the day job, drafting away, doing what they're doing and go home. And, how do we prize those people out, give them confidence to do it? Because I know we're probably quite natural extroverts and happy to do that, but that's not everyone in the legal profession. So what advice or tips would you give to those people?
I think that term's quite scary, and I think that term makes you think that you should be getting something out of it. I would say that you shouldn't actually have an agenda. I think you should just go to things and enjoy them for what they are, and aim to have a good conversation with other intelligent people. I think if you go with a fixed agenda, or you think I need to come back with this many cards, I need to win this business, that's completely the wrong approach. So I think if you just treat it as I'm meeting some lovely people and I'm going to have a nice evening or a nice afternoon, then later on, naturally things will happen really unexpectedly.
I think I've always said it's a skill set, and it's like many other things, you can develop those skills over time. So to say I'm not an extrovert, I'm not good at networking, I don't think that's necessarily true. Start as early as you can. Come along, bring some friends, leave early, whatever you need to do, but just start coming along. And as I say, build those skills. It takes a while, but it will happen.
Definitely for our events, I will always say, please look out for anyone on their own. And I tried to do that. So the other day, even when I was rushing around trying to do lots of things at the Supreme Court. And then I spotted someone there. So tour stickers, actually. And I spotted someone on their own, and I thought, I really want to speak to her. So I did briefly. Then I spotted a friend. So I thought, actually, can I just pair you up and get you talking? Yeah. Because, you just don't want to be on your own. So definitely with ours, we try and do that. And I'd say if you do get over that hurdle, and wherever you go to an event, I think you should try and keep an eye out for someone that's on their own and try and bring them in and remember Absolutely. That you were that person.
Yeah. And at our events, look out for a committee member. Yeah. That's one of the reasons we're there.
Yeah. And I think you guys are just killing it on social media as well. So for people who are new to this, it's worth just sort of mentioning what your Instagram is so people can follow you and all of that good stuff. We'll probably share some links on the podcast as well. But what's your official Instagram?
It's my full name, boring. Nicola Elizabeth Rubbert, all as one word.
At Olly BSH. And at London Young Lawyers. And then we're on Twitter. LinkedIn we're updating all the time. That's a really good one. You can join the mailing list. I think if you just go to our website and scroll down to the bottom of the main page, you can just type your email address in. We promise we don't spam. You pretty much get one email a month for that month's event. And then if you sign up to be a member, I think you get added automatically to the mailing list.
And we've got Twitter at _LYLG, where we're posting quite a bit now.
Facebook, we're everywhere.
Expect nothing less. Even podcasts now. Okay. And just for anyone sort of, as we sort of wrap up, I think there's been lots of kind of interesting kind of content there that guys thinking about getting involved in societies, trying to improve their networks. What advice would you give to a younger version of you sort of thinking, going through your legal career in terms of being networking? What sort of the top 3 tips you would give to people thinking about this? Ollie, because you do a million and one things. Coming to you first.
Yourself, not just as a lawyer, but as a business. You've got to think of yourself not just doing the law. These days, it's not enough.
Yeah. Okay. Nicola, what would you say? Why should people bother? Because some people are saying at this, I'm just a really good executor of the law. I'm technically brilliant. I'm going to go through my career and I'm just going to be absolutely fantastic. This isn't important to me. Well, actually, we're saying it's fundamentally important. We're servicing clients. It's a relationships game. You need to be able to improve your networks. So how do we say to these people, look, this is actually as equally as important as you being technically very good at your job?
Yeah, well, it's important to keep up with the profession generally and with changes in the law. Maybe you could just be reading that all the time, but it's so much nicer to actually hear other people's opinions and have full discussions about it. And it just gets you outside of, always reading or being at your desk. It's a nice change of scenery and productive at the same time. And as I said, networking itself just try and enjoy it, actually.
Yeah. We are human. We've talked a lot about work, societies and everything else, but what's going on in your sort of personal lives that you're trying to get on track? Personally, I'm trying to get myself fit. So I'm trying to get myself going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. At the moment, I'm at 1, which is progress from none. But is there anything you guys personally are trying to work on that you're kind of fitting it all in just to show we can be humans at the same time?
So doing lots of fitness and outdoorsy stuff is really important to me. My favorite probably is paddleboarding. So I try and do quite a lot of that when I can, and hopefully I will escape in a few weeks to do a bit more.
You just fall off a lot of the time. I've tried that and I'm hopeless. Have you got really good balance?
I think Pilates helps. Yeah, that's what you need to do.
That's what I'm missing out on.
Do you know what? I think even when I was in Portugal and saying, Ollie, I can't talk to you right now, I'm going paddleboarding, he was still trying to ask me questions.
She was on a wellness retreat and I was like, yeah, but have we got the name badges?
Got to get those name badges, guys. If all you take from today is make sure you have name badges if you're running an event, that'll be good. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I think there's lots of extra content there that people can listen into. I'm sure this isn't the first or the last time we'll be seeing the end of you, so thanks so much, and over and out.
Thank you so much. Great fun.
Thank you for having us.